there are too many children is like saying there's too many flowers.
Each one of them are thankful to be here also.
My dad's work is in real estate, and he found the perfect spot for a new house, 6 miles outside the city.
Because our plan is, in the future, for each one of the children, if they desire to build a house here on the property next to ours.
Hey everyone, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a wonderful day. It's Wednesday, October 5th. I was actually, this afternoon while I was putting on my makeup, does anyone out there, when you're putting your makeup on, and maybe you don't have a job like I do, where you can sort of work and do things at the same time, so I will frequently listen to things that I might talk about while putting on makeup, which then ends up makeup taking like 2 hours. Anyone else? Okay. So I have this habit of starting my makeup and then getting sucked into reading something or sucked into that and watching this. And today I was sucked into the Tawny Town City Council meetings. I don't know why I ended up down that rabbit hole, but apparently I thought this was ironic. It smells really bad by the Duggars' house because of the garbage. And apparently the citizens in the area are complaining about the stink. I just thought that was funny, given that I'm going to talk about right now. It's not funny for those that are impacted by it. Poor residents were talking about like just their lungs feeling icky and just getting headaches from it and just some really deep concerns. But it's not the smell of Josh Duggar's lies that are causing it. It's actually the garbage. Let's talk about the appeal brief that we discussed yesterday, because I said yesterday I was going to put out a video about Caleb Williams and I didn't get to it. So let's talk about Caleb's reaction. Most of you know that Caleb has done an interview on this channel, and that, you know, over the years I have had communication with Caleb about a variety of different topics and issues, and just in this specific case related to Josh Duggar's trial. Now, I'm not condoning anything from his past. We're only talking about what's going on with Josh's trial. So Caleb Williams was someone that worked with Josh years ago. He actually moved in with the Duggars. I don't know if you knew that. Back in 2018, 2017, Caleb was going through his own problems, and Jim Bob Duggar had no problem allowing Mr. Caleb Williams to move into his house, knowing full well what Caleb Williams had gotten himself into and done. But now that same behavior is being used against him because Josh wants to frame him. So let's talk about what Caleb had to say to the Duggars and about the situation. And before we do, can you do me a huge favor and give this video a thumbs up? Also, subscribe to my channel if you have not yet subscribed, and make sure to turn those notifications on so you know when I go live or if new content loads. So we're going to talk just very briefly about this appeal. So he wants a brand new trial, Josh, because Caleb Williams apparently is the reason why he couldn't get a complete defense. He wasn't allowed to call him and blame Caleb. And the court had reviewed this numerous times. And the point the judge kept making is that you need to be able to prove that he was there. And it can't just be some speculation and an assumption, because it will confuse the jury. And they couldn't provide any evidence that he was there. They couldn't provide any concrete proof that he remoted in. They couldn't even show that remoting was possible. So the judge said, you can't call him just because you want to call him because of his status, not because you actually think he's there. I mean, that's in so many words. That's what the prosecutors thought. And the judge agreed. Josh could have called him, but he chose not to. Now, Caleb actually was at the trial for all the days that he was there. When I interviewed him, I talked to him about what it was like to be there. You know, he had spoken about how Anna had given him dirty looks, how he still loved the Duggars, how he just wanted to be able to move on, that he still had love for the Duggars after everything that they had done for him. And he was very much taking the high road, okay, in a situation where he shouldn't have. And so when all of this came out, I asked Caleb. I reached out to him and I said, do you have a comment about what Josh is doing in his appeal? And this is what Caleb had to say about Josh accusing him in his appeal. He said, many of the Duggar family are still living in the alternate reality where the clear facts of a case are still being questioned. Even if this long shot appeal is remanded to the district court for a new trial, the government proved repeatedly that I was states away when Josh's heinous actions transpired. I'm sad that the Duggars, a family I assumed were my friends, are trying to accuse me of such horrific crimes. He was states away. They provided evidence. He was not there. But I thought it was the interesting part, I thought was, I'm sad that the Duggars, a family I assumed were my friends, are trying to accuse me of such horrific crimes. Caleb grew up, he is the grandson of S.M. Davis, and S.M. Davis is a pastor that Jim Bob and Michelle love because he has this whole series about parenting kids, and it's very archaic and old school. He has a whole video about, using a rod and doing it for as long as you need to. It's very disturbing, if you ask me. But nonetheless, that's Caleb's grandfather, and Caleb's other grandfather ran Hephzibah House, if you're familiar. That was on Dr. Phil. Horrible story on that side too. But in the same circles, he grew up with the Duggars. The Duggars are still friends with his mother. Jackson went to the Alert Academy with one of Caleb's brothers, and this is how they repay him. Jim Bob has expressed privately to people that he believes Josh is guilty, but publicly that's not what he's telling people at all. So publicly, they're allowing this rumor to permeate into their communities. In their community, it matters what people think because they're very isolated and insulated, and it's a very small world, right? And if you are ostracized for doing nothing other than literally working for Josh and being the scapegoat for him, you're basically lost and you lose out of friends, of family, of everything. And Caleb told me that on top of everything that he's gone through with this, the fact that he's defending himself publicly and speaking out against what's happening has caused him issues within his own family because no one wants to apparently upset the Duggars, and they want to just go with the public narrative. They don't think that Caleb did anything, but they also don't know that Josh is guilty. Josh Duggar's brothers are also apparently helping to perpetuate this lie, according to Caleb. So and I'd spoken to somebody else other than Caleb about the same issue, is that the brothers, some of them still are allowing this public accusation against innocent people to occur. And for Jim Bob, it all comes down to he doesn't want to admit publicly that this is true because he feels like it'll damage his standing in the community, allegedly. And so they don't want to lose clout in their religious sect. And so they'll just push it off and blame someone else so that they don't have to take responsibility, which is really ironic because I feel like if they were just honest and accepted responsibility and apologized, they literally live in a world where people do horrible things to children. And if a guy just goes up goes to the pulpit and says, I'm sorry, I'm going to repent, I did a horrible thing, literally they believe in radical forgiveness. And so Josh or Jim Bob could simply apologize and people would still probably be like, it's okay, we understand. But it's this whole other side of things where it's like they won't repent and they won't acknowledge, and it's totally anti-biblical. When you do something wrong, you're supposed to admit you've done something wrong. You're not supposed to bear false witness and blame somebody else. But that's what Josh is doing, and that's what his brothers and other family members are doing within their circles so that they don't have to look like the bad guys. And if you believe that it's not impacting the whole family, you're certainly, it's no question that the brothers have not spoken out against him. Only Jason and James have said anything, and they believe Josh is guilty. But you've not heard a word from any of his other brothers about Josh's guilt or innocence. It's only been the girls that have said anything. And not all of them have been clear on whether or not they think he's guilty, including Jessa. Joy clearly stated she believes he's guilty. Ginger and Jill all clearly stated that they believe Josh is guilty. The other brothers, nothing. Some of them, I was told, were willing to testify for Josh if he gets another trial. So some of his brothers are going to be willing participants in helping his defense to get him out of jail because they don't want to deal with the Josh being in jail and they believe Josh's lies or they believe their dad's lies. Either way, they're not using critical thinking skills and looking at all of the facts. The facts of this case are so clear and it's overwhelming, and the judge said at sentencing it was an overwhelming case against Josh. Caleb Williams is slamming the Duggars, and Josh Duggar continues to avoid responsibility. And I would just say, if you're someone that loves the Duggars and thinks that they're great people, I can't tell you any different. I would just say if you're close to the Duggars, be extremely careful, because if they need to get out of something, they'll pull you and drive you over the bus. I mean, they had no problem going after their friend S.M. Davis's grandson in order to prove or to get Josh out of something. They would rather try to accuse someone publicly knowing the status of their platform than actually take responsibility. Now, I asked Caleb if he would actually sue Josh for defamation, and he did say that early on he looked into it and he considered it in the beginning of the year. But he said that having just gone through his own legal problems, he just doesn't think it's worth it to sue, and he would rather just try to move on. And he knows that he didn't do this, and people that have any sense know that he didn't do this. So no, he probably won't sue for defamation. I don't think it's ever off the table. I mean, I think if it gets worse, I mean, say he does have to have a retrial and they are allowed to do this to him. I mean, the prosecutors and the U.S. attorneys were trying to protect him from what the Duggars are doing to him publicly, and it's horrible. But Caleb just doesn't want to deal with the legal consequences, or the legal components of a lawsuit. And lawsuits are very exhausting. They're expensive. You're not always guaranteed to win. And if these are court filings, not everything in a court filing can be used in a defamation lawsuit. So Caleb still could change his mind, but for now he says he has no plans to sue Josh or the Duggars for defamation of character. So what are your thoughts about this? Tell me in the comments below. Bye, guys.